Hey everybody, Big Daddy B-Man here. I decided to try something new. Complaining on the internet. Oh, well, at least it's new to me. Plants vs. Zombies, one of the most influential games of our time, is widely considered by many to be a near-perfect game, and to an extent, I have to agree with them. However, there's one plant which to me ruins this game. That is none other than Kernel-Pult. Stick with me as I discuss what Kernel-Pult is, what it does, and what makes it Plants vs. Zombies' biggest mistake. Kernel-Pult is the third plant unlocked in Roof, the final world of the game. He's a lobber plant that costs 100 sun and flings kernels that deal light damage to zombies. These kernels actually do the same damage as a pea from a pea shooter. However, being a lobber plant, Kernel-Pult has half the fire rate of a pea shooter. This would make Kernel straight up unusable. However, he has one more trick up his sleeves. Every time Kernel fires, he has a 1 in 4 chance to launch butter instead. This butter deals double the damage of the kernels, making it deal the same amount as a projectile from Cabbage Bolt. Not only does it deal more damage, the butter also stuns zombies for a few seconds. This is what makes Kernel usable, and one of the most unique plants in this game. He's primarily a staller, but also gets light chip damage in. This means that you should almost never solo run Kernel as your primary attacker. He's a support plant more than anything, and a spammable one at that. Because of his cheap cost, the early levels of Roof and Adventure, and even some of the later ones, encourage you to plant lots. This is further accentuated by the random chance of the butter. One lane of Kernel usually won't cut it. The chances of butter are too low, so you want as many kernels as possible to increase the probability, as well as the chip damage they provide. That's really about it for what Kernel-Pult does and how it works. Now it's time to move on to how Kernel ruins this game. Kernel-Pult is the only plant in PvZ that is luck dependent. The only unit, plant or zombie, that is luck dependent. And before anyone starts bitching in the comments telling me about Marigold, you're technically right, but I'm talking about stuff that affects actual gameplay. Oh shit. Never mind that. Sure, Bungie zombies may spawn wherever they like. Same for the pool ambush zombies, but this is randomness that is predictable and counterable. As long as all of your plants are protected by Umbrella Leaf, you're safe from bungees, and the pool ambush is restricted to the back 4 lanes, and it's 3 zombies every lane, always basic cone hunter buckethead. Plants vs. Zombies is a game of absolutes. You see what zombies are going to be in the level, and you know exactly what to do to counter them. Kernel-Pult takes this idea and flings it out the window. You have no control over when Kernel launches his butter. It is completely random. You can never truly count on Kernel because of this unreliability. Kernel-Pult's randomness is the kind that changes the game. You have to build your strategy around his randomness. His usefulness only really shines when you spam him on roof levels, and even there he's unnecessary. As a unit protecting your house, he's unreliable like no other plant. But there's one game mode I'd like to talk about that really highlights Kernel-Pult's flaws. iZombie. The puzzle game mode that puts you in the shoes of the zombies, fighting cardboard cutouts of plants for practice. It's a genius idea, playing specific zombies at the right time to neutralize big threats, expending the weak ones to get rid of potato mines and chompers, and eating these sunflowers so you can buy more minions. You can probably tell by how I talk about it, I really like this mode, but unfortunately it's not perfect and I find no other blame than Kernel-Pult. He might be okay in a tower defense setting. Sure, a little randomness in a game isn't horrible, despite all the trash I just talked about Kernel. But in a puzzle game, it sticks out like a sore thumb. This is just not how puzzles should work. Once you found a solution, you found a solution. But because of Kernel-Pult's random butter attack, it makes it so a solution that could work sometimes just not work other times. In an endless game mode that can get very tense, with every zombie needing to be strategically placed, this can outright lose your streak all because of bad RNG. This is very annoying. Some of you might be disappointed that I see this as Kernel-Pult's most ruinous attribute, and I can see why. Honestly, his randomness in normal game modes isn't a huge problem. However, his randomness has slowly become a steady part of new plants in the tower defense game. Let's take a look at what I mean, shall we? Now that we've all been acquainted with Kernel's PvZ1 appearance, let's move on to the sequel, and, in all honesty, not much has changed. Kernel is roughly the same as he was in PvZ1. Sure, he has some added bonuses, but they kind of come along with new features as a whole, like one-shotting seagulls and the plant food ability. Neat additions, sure, but overall Kernel's main strength in the first game, stalling, can be fulfilled by many new plants. The one edge Kernel has about other stallers like Stunyon, Iceberg Lettuce, and Stalia is the fact that he recharges much faster than he deals damage, which, for being a staller, is arguably a weakness. But we're not getting into that right now. Instead, have you ever realized how these new CDM plants can have some really random abilities? Or how they often take traits from other plants and just kind of stick them together? Yeah, remind you of anyone? Now, I'm not saying that all these plants are inspired by Kernel-Pult necessarily. However, I do think it's interesting that PopCap's new plant designs are reminiscent of him. It's especially interesting to think about, and these new plants are often hated by most of the community because of their random traits. I will admit, though, that Kernel is at least better designed than them, as he at the very least holds true to his design of being a staller. Something I can't say for Frankensteinian plants like Tube Tangler or Draftadil. However, Kernel has something these plants don't, being in the first game. While these random chance plants are becoming more and more common in PvZ 2, Kernel is the only one in PvZ 1, and that is why I believe Kernel to be Plants vs. Zombies' biggest mistake.